This is the second part of the video, top 8 sagas in One Piece. To watch the first part, click the annotation or the link in the description. I'll give you a few seconds. The Thriller Bark arc turned into a saga thanks to the fillers coating it from the front and behind. Before the arc is a 10-episode Lovely Land arc, and after it a 3-episode of Spa Island arc. I'm not gonna touch upon these, I don't feel like they're important enough. In the saga, the crew arrives to the Florian Triangle, which is actually Geiko Moriya's Ishichibukai's gigantic ship. On the way, they meet Brook, the living dead, the talking, singing, happy, depressed skeleton. He is the last Straw Hat to join the crew up to the point of making this video. End of Dressrosa. At the end of the saga, we get his super sad backstory. The setting of the arc is a refreshing twist in the series and feels like you stepped into Michael Jackson's Thriller. Mind blown? The whole ship or island is a dark, grim, and purple-like, and the main theme is zombies. That's Moriya's and his henchmen's thing, raising a zombie army. Speaking about his henchmen, I love Dr. Hoback. He's one of the best villain henchmen in the series, and his laugh is a riot. Perona is also a pretty cool ghost girl and has a cool ability, and we will surely see more of her in the future of the series since she is staying with Mihawk. What are they doing together all that time? Anyways, fast forward to the boss battle of the arc, the fight against Oz. We revived Red Giant with Luffy's personality. This battle is fantastic since it required the crew to work together and created some epic and hilarious moments. Then we get Zombie Luffy. Was he a foreshadowing for Gear 4? Was he not? Who cares? Speaking of foreshadowing, there was lots of it in this arc. Zoro fought Ryuma, a zombie that was once a legendary samurai of Wano country that looks like a carbon copy of Zoro and says some stuff that makes you think. Coincidence? I think not. Also, we get to see Lola, who foreshadows Big Mom. Whoops, sorry, I said I won't spoil anything after Dressrosa. Well, she's our daughter, it was obvious, deal with it. And of course, the foreshadowing of the falling apart of the Straw Hat crew in the next saga. Also, did I mention Zoro almost sacrificed his life for Luffy? One of the best moments in the entire series. Goosebumps guaranteed. When I was making this list, I planned to put Thriller Bark lower on it, but I guess after looking back, I appreciate the saga so much more. Number 3. Alabasta. The Alabasta saga is constructed out of many small arcs that build up to the Alabasta arc. First, the Reverse Mountain arc. We meet Laboon, a setup of Brook, and surely more. We meet Vivi, a key character in the saga. And we meet Crocus, which, aside being a former crewmate of the Pirate King, he is a hilarious character in charge of a few of the funniest moments in the entire series. We continue to a few episodes in the Whiskey Peak arc. Here we start to understand what happens in Alabasta, and Vivi officially joins the good guys. We also meet Robin for the first time, yay. Then the mini arc of Kobe and El Mepo's side story with Garp. We get to know Garp better, which instantly makes those episodes good. They were good anyways. Next, the Little Garden arc, telling the story of the epic feud between two giants. This arc introduces some key characters for the next arc, is hilarious and epic, and at the same time, and most importantly, sets up an adventure in Elbaf, the Giants' country. This is my most anticipated one, and I just can't wait for it to happen. Oda, make it happen. We continue a few episodes in the Drum Island arc, and add Cotton Candy Lover Chopper to the group. We'll learn his backstory and also meet a few interesting characters that will return or are important. Waffle will return. Kuria has some kind of relationship with the Pirate King. These were 5 arcs that preceded the main arc in the saga. There was no weak point in them. They all explored different themes, were in different environments, no boredom for a second, no flaws. And we only get to the meat now. There was so much goodness in this arc. We met so many fantastic and colorful characters. The Baroque Works agents all felt unique and different, and a few of the best in my opinion were Mr. 1 and Mr. 3, and obviously Mr. 2 Bon. We see Smoker again, we see Ace for the first time. Oh yeah, and there is a civil war going on in Alabasta, I forgot to mention that. It is caused by the Shichibukai's crocodile scheme to make the country his. I find the country side plot of Alabasta to be the best in the series. It did it first, after all. An example so you'd understand what I mean, in Dressrosa, the country side plot is the whole half of the people turned to toys and discriminated fairies. In Fishman Island, the discrimination against, well, fishmen, etc. The people of Alabasta got the most sympathy from me. Kudos to them. Back to the main plot. Battles. We see the entire crew really challenge this time around, and each individual making some kind of progress. We see Sanji battle Mr. 2, who uses a similar fighting style to his, but also Sanji fighting his ethics. Nami dealing with Miss Double Finger and actually beat her on one-on-one even though she is at a huge power disadvantage and outsmarting her opponent. Usopp and Chopper fight a 2-on-2 versus Mr. 4 and Mrs. Merry Christmas. In my opinion, one of the most interesting and fun battles to watch in the series. I'm saying that a lot, aren't I? But the series is so long and full of fantastic moments, there is simply so many of them. We see Zoro break through his limits and cut through steel for the first time. And Luffy. Luffy has a tough going with Crocodile. But Crocodile is sheer badass, so I'll forgive him. Seriously, Crocodile is such a badass. I'm so happy he returned as a frenemy. Let's see, what did I miss? Oh right, poneglyphs were introduced in the saga. Those stone things that have writings on them from the Void Century. Yeah, those things. Also, the ancient weapons are first mentioned in this arc. Alabasta is a saga full of everything. So much key information, so much foreshadowing for the future, and it is such a good saga, yet there are still 2 sagas even better than it. Number 2, Summit War. This was such a tough choice. It took me a long time to decide if to put it at first or second. If this was a 100-meter run, the Summit War saga just got beat by 0.02 seconds. It was that close. I was going to put it at first, but changed my mind at the last moment. We start off with the Sabaody Archipelago arc. We meet Kami, the mermaid, Hachi returns with takoyaki stand, and Papag, the talking starfish. We also meet Duval, foreshadowing some massive stuff, looking at Utotlan arc, and see the first glimpse of Luffy's King's Haki. Then we get to Sabaody, get the foreshadowing for the Fishman Island arc, and reach my favorite part of this arc, the 11 supernovas, the super rookies. Each one is going to serve his purpose in the story. Each one is going to get to the new world. They are all such great characters. I have no clue how Oda is not starting to repeat himself, creating hundreds of unique characters and still going strong. Anyways, Kami gets kidnapped and is auctioned off. Luffy goes to save her, Hachi gets shot, and Luffy punches a celestial dragon in one of the best moments in the series. Then we meet Silver's Railing, the number 2 in Gold Roger's crew. Admiral Kizaru and some pacifistas show up, and the result is that the Straw Hat crew falls apart. Each member is sent to a different place on the globe. This is without a doubt one of the best arcs in the series and has the strongest finish out of all. After some TV special episodes, we get to the Amazon Lily arc, where Luffy lands after being thrown by Kuma. This island is Sanji's dream because living on it is the Kuja tribe, which consists only of women. I never did get how they all reproduce. Do they send representatives? Whatever. This arc is one of the funnier in the series. In it, we meet the Shichibukai Boa Hancock, who falls in love with Luffy. Before that, though, she gives him the death sentence for being on the island, and he has to fight her snake devil fruit eating sisters. Through this battle, we get to meet Haki a lot better and get another foreshadowing for Luffy's developing King's Haki. we see Hancock's backstory. Through it, we understand more about the world government. Then Luffy sees his brother Ace in the newspaper for not the best of reasons. He's gonna be executed. Luffy asks Hancock to go to where Ace is, the prison Impel Down. Hancock agrees. During this arc and the arc after Impel Down, we get to see where each Straw Hat landed and kind of learn what they're going through. Although we will have to wait a long time till we finally know all they did. Right, Oda? The Impel Down arc is another big one. We meet so many friends and foes from the past and so many key characters that will play a role in the future. Buggy, Mr. 3, Mr. 1, Bone Clay, and Crocodile are the important returning ones. And the new important ones are the fishermen Shichibukai Jinbei and the revolutionaries Ivankov and Inazuma. We also get to see Blackbeard again, and Luffy, who sees him only for the second time as a brief fight with him. The main villain in Impel Down is Magellan, the chief warden of the prison who ate the poison devil fruit. He is aided by his vice Hannibal, some sadistic woman named Sadi, I do not make this up, and a few wicked Zoan-type beasts. Oh, and by the prison itself, of course, that has floors with extreme weather changes and dangerous guards. The main objection of this arc is for Luffy to get the most bottom floor, get Ace from there, and somehow escape. On his way, Luffy meets all the new and old characters, has a near-death experience, misses Ace, and then escapes the Impel Down with his new allies and frenemies, and is headed towards Marineford, where Ace will be executed. The Impel Down arc is great. We get both feels of nostalgia, the battles are great, the action is great, there is tension, Luffy almost dies, it's just a great arc. And after that journey, we finally get to the main dish of the saga, Summit War. The Whitebeard pirates face the Marines on the Battle of Ace. Now here is what kind of ruined the arc for me, but wasn't its fault. I knew that Ace was gonna die. During the entire arc, I knew the outcome because a friend spoiled me about it. I'm sure that if I did not know the outcome, I would have enjoyed this arc a lot more, but I digress. And besides, this arc is still amazing. Watching One Piece, we don't always see the big picture. This battle is the first time we see the big picture. The first time we see the real big shots fight. Gecko Moria, Kuma, Eno, they all pale in comparison to Whitebeard, Sengoku, and the Admirals. We see Mihawk fight seriously for the first time. After some epic battles take place, Luffy suddenly lands in the middle of the battlefield. His goal, take Ace. He is fearless, charging through the admirals, through Guard, and a long story short, breaks Ace free. But Oda quickly turns the situation around as Ace is killed by Akainu. Blackbeard also appears on the battlefield. Whitebeard is killed as well. Shanks appeared and stops the war. You might be noticing I'm trying to keep this arc short, but that is impossible to do. This arc is the most impactful to the story in the entire series, changing the power balance in the world. It is one of the best arcs in the series, but the saga is not over. After the war ends, we get to the aftermath of it, and then we finally, after hundreds of episodes, we get into Luffy's past. We learn about his childhood with his brothers from other mothers and fathers, Sabo and Ace. After that, we get more repercussions of the war, Luffy having a mental breakdown, recovering from it, and onwards to the time skip. This arc is an emotional roller coaster as we finally see Luffy's past. Then the ride continues to the moment he realizes he still has a reason to live, his crew. Then we get a breather after the explosion that was just the Summit War saga. Just watch it. Number 1, Water 7, the best saga in One Piece. I already put it in second place, but after refreshing my memory and going through all that was in it, I just couldn't. It had to be first. I'll start giving reasons why it is so good. First, we have the Long Ring, Long Land arc. That's a mouthful. Then we start off with a weird mini-story of Long Ring, Long Land, and the crew helping some funny old man. Then the Foxy of the Foxy Pirates arrives, and the Great Devi Back fight begins. This fight is a bunch of random competitions. The first competition was a boat race, and after the Straw Hats lose, they have to give Chopper to the Foxy Pirates, as the rules say. The next competition is some kind of weird ball game called Groggy Ring, which makes one of its participants a ball. Zoro and Sanji are representing the Straw Hats, and you know when you put these two together, the results are gonna be hilarious. They win. After that, there is the Captain fight, where Luffy fights Foxy. Luffy gains one of his strongest forms, Afro Luffy. Needless to say, Luffy wins. The three competitions are all hilarious and are some kind of a fun break between series arcs. But not everything is fun and games in this arc, because we meet Admiral Aokiji. This meeting foreshadows the backstory of Robin, and aside from that, he's a complete badass who will have big impact on the story. After this arc comes the Ocean Scream arc, a short, unnecessary filler. It is unnecessary because we had all the lightheartedness we needed in the previous arc. After it comes another filler arc, Foxy's Return arc, which literally is just that. A few more fights in another Devi Back fight are fun to watch, but again unnecessary. After it, we get back to the main plot and get to Water 7 arc. This arc, I can only try to explain how good it was, but I can't. You have to watch it to know. But I will try to summarize what happened in this arc. So we meet a bunch of new characters like the Builders and the Mayor of Water 7, Iceberg. We also meet Frankie and his gang, who are kind of the villains of this arc. When we arrive to Water 7, the subject on hand is the future of the cruise ship, since the Going Merry sustained too much damage and will not be able to continue. The whole crew is fine with the idea of moving on and getting a new ship, except Usopp, who has a deeper connection with the Merry, in his opinion at least. This actually incites a raging argument between Luffy and Usopp, which will lead to a fight between them. What? What? A fight between Luffy and Usopp? Yes. But before I touch upon their fight, let's talk about a build-up to that. The Frankie gang stole a lot of money from Usopp. Luffy, Zoro, Chopper, and Sanji walk to the sounds of Overtaken toward the Frankie house. They destroy the house and beat the living shit out of everybody there. Quote from Luffy, "Leave no ass unkicked." That was the importance for them to get revenge for Usopp. The outcome of the fight between Luffy and Usopp is obvious, but nonetheless, it is one of the more moving and touching moments in the series. The crew is actually falling apart. Usopp loses and leaves the crew for good. After that, Robin leaves the crew as well for unknown reasons. Later on, Iceberg is attacked by unknown people and the Straw Hats are freed. It is revealed that the CP9 organization, together with Robin, are in charge of the attack and the framing. The CP9 are an organization in the world government, and their goal is this time around with getting Robin and the blueprints for the ancient weapon Pluton. They thought that the blueprints were at Tom's workshop. Who is Tom? Cue to Frankie's backstory. TDLR, Tom is his mentor and the man who raised him for most of his life, and the man who built Goldwater's ship. The CP9 are taking Robin and Frankie to Enies Lobby, the judicial island, the court basically, via sea train. Through another old sea train built. The Straw Hat Crew Builders Galila Company, is, if I haven't said so earlier, and the Frankie family go to rescue Robin and Frankie. On the way to Enies Lobby, a few interesting fights occur against lower CP executives mainly, and the birth of Sogeking and his musical numbers also happen. Thank you, Eiichiro Oda. Thank you. And now we just begin Enies Lobby. This arc holds so much importance and has so much impact on the story. I'll try to summarize it in points. The Straw Hats fight CP9 members, each one showing immense progress in battles. Sanji shows Diable Jump for the first time, Zoro shows his weird Ashura ability, Chopper shows his monster form, Nami shows her new clean attack, Usopp his new slingshot and sniping skills, Frankie shows his true abilities, and Luffy, he shows his new gears. We get Robin's tear-inducing backstory and some great moments in the present with it. Cue I want to live. Frankie officially joins the crew. Some weird power level system is introduced. The hell is Duriki? The fight between Luffy and Rob Lucci is monumental. I can't believe I still didn't mention him. But Rob Lucci is fantastic. Also, the other CP9 members are not too shabby, and Oda gave each one of them his quirks and crazy personalities. In the post-Aeneas lobby arc, we get a bounty raise for a few members and new bounties for a few. The 1000th Sunny is built, and we say goodbye to the Going Merry in a scene I didn't get emotional at all. Robin joins the crew as well as Usopp at the last moment. We finally learn that Garp is Luffy's grandpa and that Luffy's dad is the Revolutionary Dragon. Just some guy. Curly Daden is first mentioned, and we get to see Kobe and Elmepo after a long time. This arc is kind of a minute to straighten your breath after the crazy marathon Aeneas lobby was. As I said earlier, I just can't do justice to this saga just by talking about it. This is what One Piece is. That is why it is so good. You have to watch it to understand. Well, that's all, folks. That was my favorite top 8 sagas in One Piece. If you have anything to add or say what your favorites were, just do it. That's what the comment section is for. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for my next video. I'll release it someday.